All right. We have Allison continuing the Canadian invasion of the Atheist Community of Austin.
For real.
And she has recently discovered she has aphantasia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but she's having some difficulty visualizing and creating images in her mind. So it's interfering with her masturbation and her ability to orgasm. So she's wondering if there's other ways that could help that other than just straight watching porn. So Allison, thank you for calling. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I think we're all in great shape. Yeah, we appreciate you calling in. Nate gave us a pretty good rundown. Is there anything you might want to add to that, or can you walk us through a little bit of what this experience has been like?
Well, basically, all the times that I've tried to masturbate, it's been like I'm trying to picture things in my mind, and then when I close my eyes, all I see, it's just all blank and dark. And then I'm trying to picture, I'm trying to feel it up, and I'm trying to do this, and then it turns into one great big huge anxious exercise of trying to think of things, and I end up being very frustrated and going, this isn't working, so I end up just not being satisfied at all and giving up.
Sure.
So I'm wondering if there's other ways other than visualizing, like are there any kind of textures or smells or just anything that you guys can think of that would help?
Oh, for
absolutely,
sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Christy. You're the professional, so
cool. Yeah, I think we're all jumping on the bit a little bit. I would suggest that the struggle here, or the issue perhaps, is not your lack of an ability to visualize. It's maybe your sexual intelligence, your insistence on trying to have a type of sex that isn't really working, rather than your willingness to enjoy the sex that does work or that you can be having. The real value here is in getting in touch with your body. And I know we live in a very visual culture in a lot of ways. There is a assumption that all pornography is visual pornography. And we're even using that term. When you said porn, I think the assumption was that we're talking about either still images or videos, with the emphasis being on visualness. And, especially growing up in an evangelical community, we were told over and over and over that men in particular are such visual creatures. And if we are looking at something and the eyes, like that was really the emphasis in every kind of way. And I just have to stress that that's not what sex needs to be about. There are so many different ways to enjoy your sexuality or to enjoy sexual sensation. And so I would really encourage you, first and foremost, to dramatically expand your definition of porn, whether that means through like erotic literature or through erotic audio or things along those lines. Certainly, there are lots of things to explore through different toys and sensations. But ultimately, if you have this diagnosis, I would imagine that you may be working with some kind of professional provider, and it might be worth getting better in touch with your own somatic experience, with a better understanding of what's going on inside of your body, getting a sense of where the gas and the brakes are, and a more just intimate relationship with your own sensations. There are a lot of ways to do that. It can get a little bit complex without getting a little bit more detail about what you're going through. But I'm wondering if anything that I'm saying is connecting with anything or resonating for you first.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Like, I find that sometimes if I'm listening to music, I will get a feeling of just euphoria just coursing through my body, and it's really wild. So add some masturbation into that, and I bet you I'd have some success for sure.
Yeah. Recognize
please
these
go
things.
ahead, Nate.
Yeah, sorry. Recognizing these things that are working for you and then transferring that into a positive experience, you know, like who's to say that you need to focus, like Christy was saying, on an image or a video? Like really just clear your head and focus on what it is that you're feeling and focus on your body and what parts of your body are feeling good. And don't try to overthink it. Just enjoy the moment, you know, and focus on your body and what that feels. That's actually someone called in to the Recovering from Religion helpline a while back and had the privilege of having Dr. Ray talk to them. And that's kind of what he said, was just don't really focus on trying to make it happen. Just focus on what you're feeling. Focus on how you're feeling, right? Where are you feeling it in your body? So if you find that piece of music that speaks to you, or you find that that song that really gets you going, right? There's no, you don't have to focus, you know, sort of try to generalize and just focus on the emotion and the pleasant feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that helps at all.
Number, call back.
Yeah. I would also encourage, really, I feel like I've been beating this drum for a minute or two, but I would encourage everybody listening to explore erotic audio, to explore all of these different kinds of things, because you may find that is a easier way for you to connect than through a more visual medium. Now, your experience of visualization within your own head may or may not get thrown off here, depending on what you're enjoying or what you're listening to. But just know that there is such a incredible variety of sensations and experiences that are available here. And if something isn't working, move on. You know, be an omnivore. Be willing to just try things, even the silly things, and see what clicks, what feels good, and what's working for you. And don't be afraid to prioritize this, to spend a little bit of time and a little bit of money on special toys, on paying for your pornography, whether that's visual or otherwise. There are some really great free communities of erotic audio, and I would encourage you to explore those kinds of things as well. But just know that your sexuality, your ability to get off, it fucking matters. You know, we wouldn't be doing this show and having these conversations if orgasm wasn't significant. It isn't the end all be all of a sexual experience. And like Nate said, if you are just trying to get to that finish line, you're probably never going to get there. It's more about the journey than the destination, so as they say. But in any case, know that this can be important, that you're not a pervert for spending an hour or $100 on a toy or whatever else that helps you to get to that place. And when you get there, notice the experience. Notice in your body what it feels like. Get a sense of, oh, when I'm really turned on or when I'm really close to orgasm, my skin feels like this, my heart feels like that. You know, notice these different sensations, and it'll be a lot easier for you to get back there when it's time to.
Helen, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was kind of going to agree with Nate that, like, you know, don't worry so much if you're going to have an orgasm. You know, you might not. It's okay. You know, it's more about like finding pleasure in your own body. You know, what clicks, what makes you feel good and stuff like that. If it's buying like a really sexy piece of panties and wearing them underneath your clothes and then you know, touching those while you're masturbating, you know, that works. You know, whatever it is to make you feel like a sexual creature, that's what you should focus on. And then, you know, the orgasms will come, you know, literally. So,
yeah.
You know, so, you know, I would focus on, you know, what makes you feel alive, what makes you feel beautiful, what makes you feel sexy, and focus on that. Don't focus so much on the end goal, you know, because you will get there eventually.
Okay, fabulous. I do know that I can have orgasms because I had a partner who was able to get me there, and I had never had that powerful experience before. And then I discovered that I can actually have multiples, which is awesome. And so I found that if I had already been intimate with him and had a bunch of orgasms, sometimes he would leave, and then I would continue on for a while, and then it was like, hey, I myself have orgasms, and it was so I've been successful in that sense. It's just starting and, you know, being able to actually get there is where I'm having difficulties.
Yeah, it really helps to prime the pump. And, you know, that first one may be a little bit more difficult to achieve, and that's okay. You're allowed to spend time on it, and you're allowed to enjoy yourself along the way. Even if you don't achieve orgasm, it doesn't mean that you're not having a good time. And the truth is, life finds a way. If you aren't having an orgasm, and you aren't having an orgasm, and you aren't having an orgasm, but you are going through the motions and putting in a little bit of time, you will get there. And the fact that you are able to achieve it so much more easily after having that experience, just to me, again, highlights the fact that when you're in that headspace and when you are remembering those experiences within your body and you're tuned in to that somatic experience, that it's a lot easier to achieve. And as you get more practice, it will become easier and easier and easier.
Another thing that I wanted to point out is that I have ADHD, so that has really interfered with things too, in terms of focus. I find that, you know, like I used to try having music and all these other sounds and stuff, and it was just more distracting than anything. And I found that having sex complete quiet helped with getting me there with my partner. So that's another thing that
whatever helps you relax.
Yeah, and I do have unfortunately I do have sexual trauma mixed in with all of it too, so sometimes I'm just, you know, not in that headspace, and it's good to recognize, like, if I'm not in the headspace, I'm not gonna have an orgasm, period. So
yeah, and there's no need to, you know, I mean, orgasms feel great. And yeah, it would occasionally be nice to be able to just take an orgasm pill and be able to have that experience. But you don't need to be in a good mood all the time. You don't need to be in a sexy mood all the time. You get to be in a good mood when you're in a good mood. You get to be hungry when you're hungry. You get to be horny when you're horny. And that variety is part of what makes life so beautiful. When you are beating your head against the wall because it's just not working, move on. Come back to it. You know, just because when you're not hungry, you don't stand there in the kitchen shoving food down your throat. And if you are, then maybe you're not living your most fulfilling life, and it's worth kind of being more mindful and taking a step back.
Yeah, and like this, one of the side effects, it's funny you should mention food, because one of the side effects of the ADHD meds is lack of appetite. So sometimes I literally have to force myself to eat because I haven't eaten all day or whatever. So it's an interesting tie-in.
Yeah, no, and maybe there is some of that here too. You know, perhaps even when you aren't feeling sexy, or if it's been a long time since you felt sexy, then yeah, maybe it is worth like just stopping. And when you're not hungry, oftentimes if you go ahead, you make yourself a healthy plate, a small plate of food, you put it in front of yourself, you take a bite. A lot of times you'll notice, oh, wait, I actually do have an appetite once you get things going. And that may be true here as well. But if you are just eating and eating and eating and nothing is really appetizing, nothing is really appealing, it's okay to stop and come back to it later when the mood maybe strikes a little bit differently. I'm going to recommend in particular to you Sexual Intelligence by Marty Klein if you are invested in like a really heavy read. And if you're looking for something a little bit more accessible or a little bit shorter, then the work of Esther Perel might be a really good choice here. Or also Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. Any of those could be a really good fit for getting a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more aware of your body.
Okay. Any chance you could post those in chat for me?
I will make sure that they are in the show notes for this episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for calling.
Bye, Allison.
Bye.
Thank you for calling, Allison.
Yes.
Wow, Christy.
Yeah, I didn't mean to just start like data jumping a bunch of books there, but yeah, I realize it's been a minute since I've done that. So
that was awesome.
Do your reading. Sex is worth reading.
And I also wanted to say on Allison's point, like I also have ADHD and I'm on medication for it, and it can kill your sex drive.
Sure.
It really does. You know, I find that, you know, but then when I am feeling sexual and either I masturbate or I have sex, I'm like, oh, I actually like this. I remember how to do this. This is fun. So, but it does take a little while for those, you know, because the medication really isn't, it suppresses your appetite, it suppresses your sex drive and all these different things, that you sometimes have to be like, oh yeah, I do like really good food. I do like really good sex. And you have to kind of, you know, almost remind yourself, you know, because of, you know, the way the medications affect you. So I definitely felt Allison on that point. So